Hi, I'm Johan. I'm from Sweden. I've been living here in China for about 5 years. I ran into the football community here about 3 years ago and started to play. I truly sucked at the game. I thought I was pretty good, but apparently I was not. I don't like to lose, so I started to practice. And that's one of the reasons why we're making this video for you guys. If I would have had a video like this when I started to play, I would have been very, very happy. So now we're making one for you guys to improve your game. If you ever come by Shanghai or China, you're more than welcome to visit us. You can find everything on www.shanghaifoosball.com.
Okay, we're here to learn about the snake shot, and Johan's going to help me with this. We're going to teach it in the order that you actually do it. So the first step we're going to talk about is the setup. So Johan, go ahead and do a couple of setups. And you can just repeat that one again. So what you notice is he's coming from the outside winger. The ball's back. He's coming to the, I just keep doing it. He comes to the middle man. He contacts the ball on the middle man, on the sort of the corner of the man, the left front or the right front corner of the man. And he does that with the rod not moving. So outside, moving in, man stopped. And what that does, it changes the movement of the ball. So it starts going to, from side to side, it goes from back to front. And more importantly, it slows the ball down. And that gives you plenty of time to get in position to grab it. So there's a good setup. And let's just try a couple different setups now. So that's setup number one. And this is the back pin to front pin setup, also very popular. So why the setup should be practiced? If you can do your setup quickly and easily, it gives you more time to focus on the shot, reading the defense, working your options. If your setup is uncomfortable, if you don't quite get it properly set up, you're worrying about your setup, it's going to hurt your shot. Setup should be practiced. What that means is try not to hand set the ball. Practice the entire shot, including the setup. Setup is the first component and a very, very important one. Okay, step two is actually checking your setup. So after it's set up, you can check your setup by both look and feel. So you're going to know your shot very, very well. You know the ball's feeling too far forward, too far back, and even if it feels good, but if you say you're doing your rock and you lose the ball a whole lot, well, that probably means your setup is not quite good. So learn where a good setup is from executing, from rocking without losing the ball, from being able to work all the different holes. So check your setup is also very important. Step one, setup. Step two, check your setup. Step three is your hand position and your body position. It's very similar to a pull shot. Is left foot forward, right foot back. The entire body is left of the rod, giving you lots of free play for moving the rod left and moving the rod right. So your body and your hand position is very, very important. Snake shot grip is very, very important. I'm going to call this 12 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock. Let's set up first of all on about 2 or 3 o'clock. Go ahead and set up, which is about there. Now, if we want to get more upward pressure to get snap on the shot, let's be down here. So this part here allows you to pull up very hard and you get snap on your follow through. By having pressure point here at 2 o'clock, it allows you to increase the speed of your rock because now you have downward pressure. You're getting a ton of power now on pushing down on that rock. When you want to do your shot, you pull up. Let's see a couple of those. I call this a hinge grip, 2 o'clock and 5 o'clock. Tony Spreedeman is known for a 6 o'clock grip. Let's get way underneath there, right, like this. That's a very, very good grip for walking the ball around. Gives you a lot of control. He's still also at 2 o'clock, but he's also down at 5 and 6 o'clock, and he's got a lot of snap on his shot as well. Next. Finish is also very important. What I'm seeing is a reverse C. A reverse C is going to look like this. If you want to get a little bit more extension though, so starting like this, coming up to here, there's a C, you can go to what's called an L. So an L looks more like that, whereas a C is more like that. So an L gives you that last little bit of extension, and I call this final bit L on its side to go even further. So there it comes up to a C, there's an L, L on its side. Let's see a couple of follow-throughs now for the snake shot. Good, that's a nice L. Let's see, an L on the side and down. Very nice. Okay, now that we've covered the hand position, now we talk first of all about rocking. So rocking back and forth is done with the man going from sort of one extreme to like one half of the ball to the other extreme, another half of the ball. And we'll show you this in a different camera angle as well. So side to side, just rock side to side, side to side. There's 3 different rocks that I know. The first rock is called no rock. And that's a very devastating way so long as you can still hit corner to corner. So no rocking to me makes your middle easier to read and easier to shoot at. But it makes the corners a little bit more difficult. If you can shoot the corners from a no rock position, that's a great option. Then we have just a slight rock. So moving slowly side to side, side to side. That still makes the middle quite easy to hit, quite easy to read, but it gives you a little bit easier time on hitting those corners. And now we have a little bit faster, narrow but fast, narrow but fast, narrow but fast, narrow but fast. And the final one is very wide, both slow and fast. This is the one where it's also possible to lose the ball, so also you want to practice this as well. Now, a slight variation on this is called sort of jerky rock. So that's when you kind of rock, but it's almost without rhythm. It's kind of jerky one way, then the other. A lot of stops and starts. Sure, if you lose the ball, get it back in. Very good. Jerky rock back and forth. So what you're doing here is it's looking like you're about to shoot. And especially if it's fairly long in your possession time, this is a great way to look for, are they baiting me on the defense? Do they have a favorite hole they want to cover? It really exposes holes in the defense. So having a sort of jerky rock, I call it sort of like a drunken snake. They don't really know where you're going, when you're going. It's a great option to have. Now, similar to the sport of tennis. In the sport of tennis, when you're serving the ball, if you have your arm moving up and down, sort of, I call that essentially like a rock. You're rocking back and forth, rocking, 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 and then you have something called a release. And that's when you let the ball go straight over your head. What you have to do at some point is let the ball go. Now, the feeling, however, is that you're always in control of the ball, even though you let it go. What that does, it extends the ball past the point of a rock, allowing you to have a very, very deep, almost a dead man option available. It also gives the ball time to get there. So if you immediately shoot off of your rock and your rock hasn't taken you out to the extremities, then it's difficult, it's actually impossible to hit a very deep square to the corner. So you need to have that release. A good way to do it is to actually rock and release and see where the ball goes. The ball should actually go slightly back and should go all the way to the wall. That's a very, very good rock. Let's intentionally show a little bit weaker rock that doesn't go all the way. So release it, yeah. So that didn't go all the way to the wall. The problem with that is if that was in your regular shot, that means you're going to be slow to the corner. Your time is going to be off, and it's not going to have quite the success. So you want to be able to check your rock, check the release, and make sure it goes slightly back, and the ball goes all the way to the wall and bounces off. So we've talked about setup, check your setup, rock, release, or toss as we call it, and then we're going to talk about the strike. Now, for all of you just learning the snake, I really encourage you to strike with a stopped ball, so no rock, just nice and straight. So go ahead. Another ball. So for some people, if they don't hit it with that much authority, they need to figure that part out first before they go to the next few stages. I'm going to show it one more time. So coming up to a letter C is okay. Coming up to an L is even better for follow through. And you want to make sure when you follow through, the toe is at least in line with the rod, so it's halfway up, or in other words, the man is a full 90 degrees from the table surface when you finish. And that's going to give you the power and also the time for the ball to get to the position it needs to go. So your actual hand position, your strike, and your catch is a very, very important part. Let's talk about legalities. Is the shot legal? Well, in some bars, in some locations around the world, the shot is not legal. However, under the International Table Soccer Federation, it is legal in over 40 countries now for ITSF tournament play. So what makes the shot illegal is if you go more than 360 degrees before you strike it. So give it a couple rotations and then strike it, Johan. And then strike it, so rotate it. That would be illegal because you're only allowed one rotation. And similarly, if you rotate afterwards, so try one afterwards, more than 360, that would also be illegal. So what you need to do is to strike the ball no more than 360 degrees prior to striking the ball, and another 360 degrees after you strike the ball before you stop the ball. That's a fully legal shot. Why the shot is still not popular with some people is they think the shot is too effective, too easy. In other words, it cheapens the game. Now, we'll let you decide whether you agree or not. We're going to simply teach the shot and let you decide whether you want to do the shot yourself. In addition, even if you don't really want to do the shot yourself, I know quite a few European players who think the shot is effective, but they think it's also boring. So I say learn it anyway because that'll help you to be a better defender of the shot. So whether you want to use it to actually score goals with, or whether you want to just stop the shot, it's a good idea to learn the basics of the shot. The next step we're going to look at is practicing the shot. So we're going to start shooting against a single man right in the middle. So let's move that red man right in the middle and let somebody just go around that. So this is what you do in the first sort of weeks of just practicing your shot, just trying to go around this one man. So you go around left side, go around right side. Now what we're going to do is we're going to get 1.5 men involved. So this and that 1.5 man, good. So they're overlapping by a half. Set them down, and then you go around that. And then working on that, you're going to have to work on your rock and your toss and your release. Practice both sides. Do a couple of full sides. Good. And then you go to 2 men. Now we're going to introduce the concept of dead man. So let's put the 2 rod right to the far, far left. Right over here, right to there. So what that is, that's your first man on the 2 rows, completely dead man. You do not, repeat, you do not need to be able to shoot a dead man on a snake. In fact, I kind of think if it's impossible, or if you can do it, it's like a trick shot. What you need to be able to do is to shoot at least a 1 finger, if not a half finger. Good, so that's 1 finger width, so you move the finger in between the bumper and the table side. Good, so that would be a 1 finger dead man. Go ahead and hit a couple of those. And after that, now we're going to go to the half finger dead man, which is more of a pro level shot. You do not need to be able to hit 10 out of 10 on these. What you want to do, however, is just look for progress over time. You want to look at, can you do this from a stop, no rock, from a small rock, from a big rock? You know, where can you shoot this half finger dead man? And now, how do you do it for both sides? So we line up the goalie with the first dead man. And then we set up the 2 rod on the other dead man. Let's go all the way dead. So that's too much to practice. Let's go to 1 finger dead man. And let's go to what we have on the other side, which is half finger dead man. Good. So now what we have is we have push or left side half finger dead man, pull or right side half finger dead man, and that's a pro level one. Don't expect to hit 10 out of 10 on this, but this is a very challenging thing to hit. Pulls. And also work those middles. Great. So what Johan is doing now is he's walking this, very popular with people like Ryan Moore, Billy Pappas, Tony Spreedeman. And essentially what it is to me, and I don't shoot a walking snake, but what it is to me is taking the best of the European shot and combining it with the best of the regular snake shot. So what the European shot does is it moves around to explore the defense following me. As an extreme, it's actually get the defense to follow you and then to bait them into going the wrong way, then coming back the first way. So if you can walk out and then get them walking one way and then come back the other way, one benefit of the snake shot. Or if they are baiting you and they want to go to their favorite defensive hole, that could be exposing them, getting them to move to that defensive hole, and then what you would do is you would then move to the newly exposed hole. So it either exposes that they're either moving or they're not moving, or it gets them moving in your favor. Now, if you find that it's not causing the defense to move, and you're just not hitting your holes, then I would advise you to go back to the rock. The rock will give you more ability at hitting more holes. The walking option is more to get them to react to it and to read the reaction and adapt to it. Great, so there's walking. Shoot at, starting with hole number 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. You can also call hole number 1 the far push side. Hole number 3, the middle. Hole number 5, the far pull side. And that's because you need to pull the rod from the middle to score there, and you need to push the rod from the middle to score on the 1, and just keep the rod in the middle to score on the 3. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So if those are the holes that you're aiming for, let's go ahead and just put the balls inside the goal. Let's now set up the defense the same way. Let's set up the goalie on hole number 1, and then hole number 2, and then hole number 3, and then hole number 4, and then hole number 5. Let's set up the goalie on hole number 1 and the 2 bar on hole number 5. So what we're looking at right now is hole number 1 and hole number 5. Not a great defense. Let's make that now 1.5. Good. And 4.5. A little better. Why? Because unless they have incredible control over their far pull side and push side options, you're still covering the holes. Because even if the ball only catches a portion of the man, so long as it does not go in the hole, you stopped it. So let's now talk about the middle. Let's talk about the middle. Right in the middle, Johan, on a 3, that's probably covering too much of the middle. So let's instead look at maybe a 3.5, and we'll lift the goalie up so they know what we're talking about. So that's a 3.5, and let's look at, say, a 2.5. Both the 2.5 and the 3.5 are still covering the middle. So that's still covering part of the middle, and 3.5 is also covering part of the middle. Let's look at that in combination with maybe a 1.5 on the goalie. That's a nice solid defense right there. That'll still look enticing to the shooter to hit the push side, but not easy. It looks quite easy to hit the pull side, but if you now move the bars in unison and take away those holes, there we go. You've now covered that side. And if we move back to where it was before, just simply moving sort of back and forth on that sort of basis, with the odd making sure that the middle is covered some of the time, that right there is a pretty good defense against most snake shooters. Now, let's consider the same defense against some other shooters, like maybe a European shooter. Some European shooters can definitely hit a wider option to the pull side, so you may have to go beyond the sort of 1.5, 4.5 that we have now. You might have to go right to the 5. So right to the 5. So depending upon what your opponent shows they have the ability of shooting, you may need to widen or narrow your defense accordingly. But what you want to do is you want to make all the different holes, be they long push, long pull, or middle, covered some of the time, and all of them fairly difficult to hit. Let's talk now about attacking that. So shooting now from the snake shot, let's give a good standard defense. Now, most snake shooters tend to prefer hitting the pull side. So what we've now done is we've made it a little bit difficult for your average snake shooter because we've taken away at least part of his pull side option, a good part of his middle, and especially if we move that around, keeping the men at the same sort of ratio. So that defense right there, let's show it a little bit faster now. And now independently, one rod than the other, not so wide. Now you've got a good confusing snake defense. And let's come back to our first setup position. Great. First setup position was covering the easier pull and covering the middle, and then taking with the push on sort of a random basis. That's a good sort of an option. Let's talk about attacking it. So now if we have a snake shot, quite easy if the person never covers the long push, never moves the defense, to hit that hole. Now we're going to talk about walking the snake shot. So what he's doing now is he's going to walk out to the fairly open side and see if the defender is going to react there really quickly. And it appeared he didn't. So the next time he goes there, he's probably going to shoot. Now this time the goalie's going to react to it. He's going to go and cover it, but he's going to keep his 2-bar defender where it is. So now he knows if he goes out there, then comes back, the middle's open. And finally, of course, if he moves with both men to cover that hole, that's going to leave the pull side open. So the objective of both the European option as well as the walking the snake option is to look at how the defense handles the movement of the ball, and if they don't move, to take the easy hole, and if they do move to the newly open hole. The trick then is for the defender to keep changing around the various options, sometimes reacting to it, sometimes not. Keep the offensive person guessing, and the offensive person wants to keep pressure on the defense. It's a great option if you can handle it, the walking. The traditional holes to attack as a snake shooter is the long push, long pull, and dead middle. We call them 1, 3, and 5. Go ahead and hit a 1, Johan. Okay, do it once more. Great. Now, sometimes, however, they're going to overextend and make it more difficult. So suppose they're going to cover like maybe all of the pull side. So let's move the goalie over a little bit more. And now they're going to cheat a little bit also in the wide and maybe cover maybe 2 hole or maybe the 1 hole. So what that has done is that's opened up the number 4 hole, a non-traditional hole, a hole that they hope as a snake shooter you haven't practiced a whole lot. In other words, a little bit off center. Let's go ahead and hit that one. Okay. And let's reverse that defense again. Let's open up the number 2 hole. Go ahead. Good. So in addition to the regular 1, 3, and 5 options, it's also very, very helpful to practice the 2 and the 4. The next concept is called isolating on one man. So let's give a standard defense again.
Yep.
Okay. So starting from a standard defense, let's change it up. Let's really cover that long push or that long pull. And what we've done now is we've opened up the number 4 hole. Let's go ahead and hit that number 4 hole. Now this is not quite middle. This is a little bit off of middle, like a half ball or so off of middle. It doesn't matter whether you call it 3.5 or 4, or it doesn't really matter the number. All that matters is you recognize it's a non-traditional hole, a hole you probably haven't practiced shooting that much, and that's the hole they're making you hit. Let's reverse that and open up the number 2 hole. So they're really taking away your long push side. So really good to practice those options as well. Now, some defenders will get into a favoring one side defense. Let's suppose that what we're doing is we're really favoring the defense on the pull side. So he's going to move around a lot, but he's going to keep the pull side open or the pull side closed as much as he can. Now what I would say is isolate your focus. As an attacker, just look at the bar at the number 2 rod man and just see where he goes. Isolate that. So if he's covering the middle a whole lot, then you should go push side. If he goes push side a whole lot, just watch him and then go middle. So again, if one man is not moving, don't look at him. Isolate your focus on the man who is moving a lot and wait for him to move and hit the hole he moves away from.